Okay. Jody told me I needed to get up closer to the mic. So if you need help.
she was telling me the same thing last night. I'm like, Jody, I'm usually the loudmouth. What are you talking about?
Well, I guess we're being recorded right now. So I'll call this meeting to order. We'll get started. We need to review and approve the February 23rd and March 30th minutes. I went on and reviewed them. You did a great job on those, David.
Thank you.
I did as well. So one of us can, I'll give that motion to approve them.
Okay. David, do you want to second that motion?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 And just a minute, and let me, I'm trying to pull up the agendas.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one thing that kind of made a pretty big commitment on my part that I wasn't sure I made that level of commitment, but that's probably what I said. So it was regarding the feasibility study for Corbett's idea of fill dirt. And anyhow.
Okay, make sure we got the right date. Okay.
That are you referring to the minutes, Newt?
Yeah.
Were they okay?
Well, it said that Newt had agreed to do a viability study, and I kind of thought it's probably semantics, but I was asking if the committee could get some permission to go ahead and start just putting out fillers. I don't know what the right term would be, but doing a little due diligence. I don't know if a full feasibility study was what I agreed to, but or viability study, I think was what might have been the term they used.
That would require money, I'm sure.
Right. And that's why I said my feeling was to start, let's go ahead and contact some contractors and see what their thoughts are on, is this something they would pay for? Is this something they would welcome? And we have a few in the city that are already, residents that might have some really good thoughts. I'm assuming Corbett's probably already done that, but
we'll let David talk to us about that. He probably has more information on it than you and I have.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm not really a fan of reaching outside of our city for dirt. I do very much see Corbett's idea when it comes to contractors within the city, because if we can keep trucks from driving on our roads fully loaded, then that can save our roads. And if we can make money in the process, then that's a good thing. So I get that aspect of it. It's when we are talking about bringing trucks into the city from outside the city that I don't think that's a good idea.
And I never got the impression that was something he was proposing. He just said that just within first we have that big berm that needs to go up there for the that one lot. Mike, I can never remember their names. The Toolers lot. And anyhow, we could probably talk about this when we get down later on the agenda. Like I said in the minutes, it sure seemed to make a pretty big promise, and I wasn't sure I was making that level of a promise. But I'm more than willing to start doing some work on it, so we can move forward with the minutes.
Okay, very good. They stand approved. I called David today or text him and found out that the council last night did approve Tim Larson, who is a CPA, and we appreciate his willingness to join the committee. He has been approved. And I think I sent out all his contact information to everyone, so you have that. If you don't, let me know and I'll resend it. Looking forward to working with Tim, and I think he's going to lend a little bit of a new dimension to this committee as a CPA. And I know I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'm just wondering if Newt, you and I can do a lot of the vetting, and he can be our numbers guy and help instruct us on numbers and looking at those and vetting those. You know, you and I can go out and vet a lot of the projects that the council gives to us. Does that sound like a good plan or not?
Yeah, I think having a CPA is very complementary to the skill set that you and I bring in, and David and Chris, and I'm sure Chris will very much welcome that.
Right.
So
right. It's another layer of protection too, I think, to help us really help us.
You know, I think of Wayne Franson. And you know, the skills like that he brings that are very specific, that are very helpful for his committee, and I think a CPA is what we need on this one. So I'm happy.
Right. So our next item on the agenda would be Chris helping us understand some of the numbers here, but why don't we go to item 5 on the agenda, discuss any update status of phase 2, phase 3 water line replacement projects. David, do you have any updates on that? Did you discuss in council meeting at all last night on that?
No, we did not discuss anything having to do with the water line replacement projects. We're kind of we were probably the only pieces that we discussed was the fact that we did not get some of the funding that we were hoping to get from the state. In fact, we got nothing, which was incredibly disappointing given the fact that the state literally had millions of dollars targeted towards water infrastructure projects, and we got skunked. So
did they give us any reason why?
No, just other louder voices had more pull, you know, typical politics. So
yeah, and that's as a citizen of not just Woodland Hills, but a voting citizen, you know, a lot of those promises are made by politicians, and it turns out they're not able to deliver. That's frustrating.
So anyway, that was very disappointing. But nevertheless, that's where it sits. So at this point, we're back to, you know, if we're looking for funding, we're back to either doing a some kind of a loan or something in order to get those other phases done. So I think what I've done is I've gotten a map from Ted Mickelson of the projects that they had kind of divided up places in the city where it needs to be done. And I'm kind of the opinion that what we should be planning for, not necessarily doing yet until we have the money to do it, but what we should be planning is just to finish out the 6-inch line to 8-inch conversion, and then pretty much call it good for a few years until we can get some of these current bonds paid down.
Yeah, I think that's a wise plan.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting to hear Corbett discussing, I think it was Corbett that mentioned with the finishing of phase 1, they went from one every 2 or 3 repairs a month or something to 0. Ever since we finished that, they haven't had any emergency repairs, or maybe one or something that was extremely a great drop. And so my notes show me from the 29th of September that phases 2.1 and 2.2 would complete removal of 6-inch. And I think Ted said that each of those phases was 2.5 million. So he was saying basically it would cost about $5 million as of last September to finish eliminating this, or removing all the 6-inch and replacing it with code compliant 8-inch. So I just say that so that we can have that on the records going forward. I haven't heard anything new from Ted, but that's what my note showed.
David, is Ted the one that did the application for funds?
There were a couple of different applications. I believe he did one of them, but I think Kerry was lobbying for the other. And anyway,
Are they telling us that there's not a prayer then to get this money? There's no way that we can go back and petition again for going through a different avenue or something like that?
Not that I know of. Certainly it never hurts to keep begging. I hate to use that terminology, but it's kind of the truth. That's really what it boils down to, is who begs the most and with the loudest voice.
Okay. That takes care of number 6 too.
Okay, Newt, could you give me those numbers again?
So it was phases 2.1 and 2.2. And that would complete the 6-inch to 8-inch kind of code compliance. And that was 2.5 million for each of those. So the way I read it and the way I understood it was $5 million as of the 29th of September last year was the projection for us to get that done. And I remember Mike kind of squinted when Ted told us that, and later on I think asked him why that was more expensive per mile or per 100 yards or whatever the breakdown was than the previous one. And I don't remember the specific answer. It seemed like it wasn't a I don't know. I wasn't really pleased because it seemed like it was a huge jump and there wasn't a real good explanation other than maybe inflation.
It was a big jump.
Because yeah, my note showed that it was 3.6 million to complete phase 1, but I don't have my notes how many feet of line that was.
Well, linear feet.
But I want to say that the 5 million was somewhere around a similar amount of linear feet, and yet it was 5 million instead of 3.6, or it was, I'm probably exaggerating, but
well, we probably need to engage discussion with Ted then and see what that's looking like now, because that price could be obsolete.
It could be, absolutely, with what's going on. And then we have a number to kind of shoot for if we want to start applying for grants or loans or bonds or those types of things. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next little while regarding how this 6-inch line holds up in the meantime. But I question whether it's something we can budget in for this next fiscal year at all.
Right. Yeah. So David, would you see us inviting Ted to our next meeting and have him cover that next phase with us and go over it?
Can I do what?
Would it be wise for us to invite Ted into our next meeting and have him review with us where we're at with these phases?
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah.
I'm going to do that then. I will invite Ted to our next meeting and have him on the agenda to discuss these phases. Going on to number 7, unless there's more discussion on that. There's not, we'll go to number 7, and that's the status for installing of security cameras. Any update on that, David, that you have? Are we on our way with that?
I don't have an update, but Chris is now on the line, so he may have an update on that.
Yep, just still waiting for Utopia to install a fiber on 2 locations of the 3 that we have. So we sent a message now to the president of the company to see what the holdup is. Have not heard back from Roger yet on that, or Aaron. See what we sent to Aaron, the vice president. I talked to Craig and Corbett. Actually, Craig's been kind of heading this up and having him take the point on it. So he didn't even know the first one was installed. That's the challenge. Utopia was kind of not being very responsive to our requests. So I don't know what's going on there. It's not like we owe them money or anything. So I don't know if they're having trouble with subs like everybody else or what.
Probably good that Craig's the one leading that up, because I know they're really excited. At least last year, I know that Val Wilding contacted me and said, "How can we get this done as soon as possible?" And I told him where we were at, and here we are approaching another fire season, and hopefully we can get it done.
Yeah, so that's the update I've got. I can resend actually, what I should do, just send out to Roger Timmerman now instead of just Aaron, his vice president. And Roger Timmerman's the president, CEO of Utopia. And so maybe I'll just send it out to him.
So it's the 2 different locations.
So we got the mailboxes, which it's been installed, the water tanks up top and at the park.
So the water tank has been installed, Chris?
Has not been installed, no.
Has not been installed, okay.
All the conduits there, they could have done it in the middle of the winter, so we're not quite sure what's going on there.
So the only camera we have then that's live feed is at the mailboxes right now?
So we have, no, because Ryan from
the
Smarts doesn't want to come just do one set of cameras. So we have, right now we just have really the camera at the fire station that points down on the street. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so just one camera operating then.
Yeah, and it's not even really good for fiber or for fire.
So Chris, are you
I wonder
on that, or do you need our help on it?
No, I'm just looking up right now. The last time I sent them the email, and I'm going to send them a follow-up of what's going on, or ask them what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So a week and a half ago, it was sent to Brad House, and actually, I did see Roger Timmerman and Aaron Leach, the two, and did not get a response back from them. I will send it one more time and then give Roger. Actually, I've got Roger's phone number. I should just text him too.
Chris, do you have any idea once the fiber's installed, what kind of turnaround Ryan can get on that?
I don't. I talked to him 2 days ago. He was still ready to go. I think he's got the cameras in hand. It's just getting it fit into his installation schedule. And it's not going to be an easy install because of the back hauls that we have to do, some of the point-to-point stuff, and then getting up on the poles. But, we just have to get on the schedule. So no, I don't have a firm time of when he could do that.
Well, like I said, I think with Craig being involved, he's the one that has the real urgency. So hopefully he can stay on it, and we'll be able to check that box that we completed a project that we started, a while back.
Okay, just send another email. We included the mayor, Craig. Do you want me to include any of you guys?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
We can go back to the number 4 on the agenda, which is our briefing on the latest city budget numbers. Just a quick review, Chris, of anything that you think would be important for us to know.
Okay, great. So the mayor and I, as you know, we met with finance committee a couple weeks ago, and then him and I spent several days working on finalizing the budget, presented to council last night. We have not done anything with this year's budget yet. I do have plans to do that here in the next week or so to make recommendations to the council for this current year's budget changes, and we'll probably need to do this current year budget again in June, just to clean up stuff. But as of right now, we're still in line. There's a few line items that have gone over, which is normal, both revenues and expenses. They just need to be brought back into line. But nothing jumping out. Nobody's going hog wire on spending money. I did find it was curious. Corbett did find some people to tar the roads in Woodland Hills for less than we could do it with our own employees. And so that may be a benefit to relieve some of our employees from having to do that so they can be freed up to do other things.
Yeah, Jody was saying it's quite a savings for us, so that's great.
Yeah, he's done two good moves this year. In the past couple of years. One was getting all the building inspections away from him, and because those costs were running us about $50,000+ a year, having to pay a city employee to do it. So now we're paying like $18,000 a year for Sunrise Engineering, and the same with these. Might be better to outsource some of these bigger projects.
Yeah, that's good. So did the city council approve the budget last night?
So it was just presented to them. Now we still have to have a public hearing, and then the city council will officially vote on it sometime after that public hearing.
Is that scheduled?
Has the mayor and the city council decided on kind of how they're going to present this to the citizens for the open meeting, or?
Not in my conversations. I don't know. David, you got something else?
We talked a little bit about that last night, and just to give you an idea, and without Chris showing you the budget, he and the mayor really did a good job on coming up with a budget that is pretty much in line with our existing budget. They are requesting a small tax increase, more or less what I'm calling a cost of living tax increase, just to keep us in line with the tax rate that we've been collecting. But again, because that results in more raw dollars, then it is considered a tax increase. But it's in the 3% range, 3 to 4%, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's a really small increase. The rest of the budget, there were a few things we had to give up that we wanted. For instance, expanding the city building, the boiler project that Corbett's been pushing, kind of gave that up. I'm trying to think of some of the other big ones, Chris.
We're going to travel, all the savings accounts.
Yeah, so that was the big one. The money that we have been putting away for a new fire truck, for a new ambulance, for a new snowplow. Basically, we zeroed out any of those savings programs, which those hurt big time because we need all of them. But basically, we just figured, since we're spending $150,000 on legal fees, now's not really the time to be putting money away for savings. So anyway, basically the way it's going to be presented is we're just going to tell the everything. The budget is pretty much the same as it was last year, except for a lot higher legal expenses because of all these lawsuits, and a few things that we'd really like that we're just not going to get.
So is the idea, when we do need the new ambulance or new fire truck, instead of having a down payment, we'll just finance the whole thing? Is that kind of Chris, is that?
Yes. Yeah, it'd be financing the whole thing. I don't know if you can see this on your screen. It'll be kind of small, but and Dave, it looks like we're going to be just about a 10% rate increase, not a 3%. So we go from 770 to 857.
So I realize that's in the raw dollars, but what? And I realized that I asked this question last night, and you said I don't know yet. But the raw dollars I don't even want to communicate that number because it's not accurate. To me, the accurate number is what is the percentage or the
overall
certified tax rate. What's the change to that?
Yeah. And when they finally get us those numbers, yeah, you're right. That's when we'll be able to really dial it down.
And I think that's going to end up being in the 3 to 4% range.
I hope so. I hope we don't have to hit too hard the citizens. And the whole thing with the lawsuit, I don't see it going away anytime soon, like in years, because they're digging in pretty hard with everything they're doing.
Come again on that, Chris. Are you saying the lawsuit, or saying you think will go on for years?
I'm just from some of the filings and emails that they've sent back and forth, really gathering that they're digging their heels in for the long term. And they've even recognized that this is going to take a long time.
Wow. So this isn't just our annual budget this year. It looks like it'll go on in future.
Unless there's a settlement of some sort, or we can go to mediation. But it's going to be, I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I don't know what they're asking for, but just an outside perspective in some of the emails that we get internally, they know it's going to take a long time.
Well, that's a good heads up to have.
Chris, since you have the budget up, can you really quick just show us the cuts in the savings so that we can just kind of see those real fast, and as well as, I guess there was delaying the building expansion, delaying the boiler project.
65,000 is right here.
Okay.
So we got rid of those savings accounts for those 5 line items there.
Okay.
And then some of the other larger ones. Were a little bit of the miscellaneous expenses that council and mayor have. So those are super small right there. Moving part of my salary out of the general account and putting it into the water account, since I do things with the water account. Going down to next hit's going to be in some of the stuff that Corbett does. We'll just kind of fly through this real quick.
Right, which probably roads maintenance was, I think, the big one.
So yeah, so one of them is right here. The waste oil boiler. And the last that I heard in some of the meetings I was in was, and I think I brought this up last night, is the city center doesn't need a third heating system. They already have 2 in there. They've got a forced air, like traditional homes, and then they already have a boiler system. Yes, it's 16 years old, but it's in there right now working. And then another big thing Corbett wanted was to wants to get caught up or even do more street maintenance. But we had to cut that back pretty good. He asked for 278. We went to 186. We kept it at 186, but we're taking 86,000 from this line item and then 100 grand from this line item down here. So still gives him 186,000, which is this current year's budget amount.
Right.
And then the other big one that we got rid of was he puts us in for just a placeholder, but 250,000 for a building
expansion.
Yeah.
Building. Okay.
And I think those are the biggies.
All right. It's helpful to see them. Thanks.
So Dave, I think this current administration would really benefit by your thoughts from 2 years ago when we had that tax rate increase and it just totally bombed. The messaging got out wrong. I don't know if you're taking a front lead on that or have offered to make sure something's reviewed before anything's mailed out to the citizens. But you always seem to have more of a level-headed approach when it comes to sharing this kind of news.
Yeah, I haven't really I haven't spoken with the mayor about messaging. Okay. But I agree. I think much of it is just in how you tell the story. And again, it's anybody who thinks of this as like huge tax increase, they're not paying attention to their own finances. And, just like I said last night to Doral, I said, man, I'm having to pay BYU students to work in my department. I'm now having to pay them $15 an hour to start. And it used to be that I could get these same students for $9 an hour. Yep. And so I don't know why people think that the city is any different. I mean, that's just, and that's inflation. anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll talk to the mayor and just say, please let me know.
And I talked to Jody today. She had some good thoughts too on, we always focus on, we need to raise because of this, we need to raise because of that. Maybe we need to be a more positive message about all the cool stuff. The snowplows are doing an awesome job. Your roads are clear. Nobody's complaining about that. You got good fire protection. City council's working on a shoestring budget. Corbett's been doing a miraculous job with, you know, just accentuate the positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that. As much positive as possible. But also, I think the city needs to be honest why the raise is having to be made also. I don't know how you do that in a positive way, but.
Yeah, if you think about it, if we didn't have any of these legal expenses, we could pay cash for our new fire truck.
Yep.
No debt.
It means the money set aside every year to service the debt could be used for other things. It's just, it spills over in other things, huh?
Or start saving for the snowplow truck. I mean, there could have been a point that the city was actually running in positive without a bunch of debt. But, you know, we'd still have to, you know, probably put $20,000 or $30,000 towards legal fees, but not 100, 150.
Normal year, what are we paying legal?
Well, up until last year, we were paying $0. So we don't know what a normal year is anymore.
So the city really hasn't had any legal issues up until this one.
Well, we had David Church was working for I think the League of Cities and Towns or the Utah Local Government Trust or something, and we were getting his services for free.
Wow. Well, we need to. David, if there's anything you can see from a council standpoint that you need help with from the finance committee, and I don't know if that legal, but it's, you know, we'd be glad to do whatever the council wanted us to do.
So something that came up last night that I think it was kind of ironic that it came up last night, because honestly, it came up, and Chris remembers the conversation he and I had probably 4 years ago when I first was on the council. There was some concern over a couple of line items in the budget because they just kind of jumped out of the blue. And that's the reason why they wanted to study the budget last night. Chris, I actually asked Ben and I said, so what is it that is concerning to you? Well, it's because the format of our budget, and I really do believe this is simply a formatting issue, doesn't lend itself to drilling down into the individual items. So when you all of a sudden see, you know, $100,000 in a revenue account, you're wondering, where in the world did that come from? Well, there's a really easy answer, but it requires us to drill down into the budget. And since the individual council members don't get that level of detail, typically, it raises flags. I've kind of learned over the years that happens. What they want to do, what they propose, and what Ben was kind of proposing last night is, well, why don't we add another line item so that we can see that more clearly? I'm like, well, eventually your budget just becomes nothing but line items for everything, and that becomes really complex. So what I'm actually hoping Tim can help us do is to have a better way for us to be able to tell the budget story in a format that will actually make sense. So if there's anything that I think the finance committee could work on next, that would be it. To basically figure out a way for us to be able to tell the budget story in a way that makes more sense without confusing everyone.
Dave, do you think we're doing ourselves disfavor by giving so much information? Can you guys see the report on the screen now? this is just the management budget. This is all that needs to be given to council legally. We give the council a detailed budget, and all it's ever really done since the time I started working here in 99 is it just creates more problems. And I can see why the state says all you have to do is give your council quarterly a summary budget. And this summary budget, and all it does is it just lumps all the taxes together. It doesn't break it down by motor vehicle or phone or any of that kind of stuff. So council's already getting way more than legally they're obligated to get. But the budget, like you said eloquently a council meeting or two ago, the budget is not a detailed transparency thing. I mean, I had people wanting to have snowplow blades outlined by themselves on their own budget line item, and this, that, and the other. It's like our budget would be 40 pages long. And you had said something, budget is a working document to track the major, I can't remember how you said it, but
well, it just tracks the major categories where you plan to spend money. It represents a plan, and that plan can change, but you don't want your budget to represent all your line items. That's going way too far.
You're hamstrung. That's what you talked about, is you're really going to be hamstrung at that point. So this takes our general budget from 5 pages to 1. And this would be the only page they get for the general account. Now, I think this is probably going too far the opposite way, but just so everybody can see, 5 pages to 1 page is significantly different.
Yeah, see, I don't mind. In fact, I strongly don't mind council members wanting to understand exactly how we're spending our money. I think that's their role.
Yep.
And I think it's good for us to give them as much information as we can. But it does end up, especially with, new council members who are unfamiliar with the style of budgeting, it does require additional time by the council and by you, Chris, to kind of educate them on, well, okay, so here's why this is there. I can't remember the one that it was actually a revenue line that he was like, why did we put this in here? And I'm like, well, because that's the category that it falls under. And he's like, well, that should be its own line item. And I'm like, well, really? You want to do that?
Yeah.
That could get really ugly really fast.
And where do you stop?
Right.
And where do you start? Was you talking about the $100,000 grant we received?
The
miscellaneous,
yeah.
90,000 right there.
Miscellaneous revenue. Yeah. I think that's what he was talking. Yeah, I think that's the one he was talking about.
I actually think the formatting that Chris has done on this, I quite like it, and yeah, I guess you can drill down in anything, but like Chris said, you're gonna increase it to 40, 50 pages. You start drilling down in these categories, line items.
So I'm guessing, Chris, that you've had conversations with Ben regarding his questions?
No, last night was the first time I heard any questions. And as of about 4 o'clock, he hadn't sent me an email or anything. Let me just double check, make sure he hasn't said something tonight, but I have nothing from him.
Okay. Well, again, I'm in favor of, don't tell my wife I said this, but I don't care. Anybody can see anything about me. I'm willing to walk naked down Woodland Hills Drive if that's what people want.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't bother me at all to be as transparent as possible. So I like the transparency, but transparency has come with education. You can't just be transparent, and because then people can spin stuff however they want. What you have to do is you have to educate people on what the budget is, what it's about, what it's not, and then hopefully they get that. So anyway.
Agreed. And if
Chris,
anybody
can any
wants details, go to transparency.utah.gov. We upload every line item there every quarter. Revenues, expenses, everything.
So that was my question, Chris. Any citizen can see everything they want to see, but we don't necessarily need to provide that in a truth and taxation meeting or whatever, except you're
Matter of fact, if anybody even grammaed something that detailed, it's not a grammable request because we can just tell them to go to the transparency website. It's there. Now the transparency website, to their own admission, is not very intuitive. And it even has a disclaimer on there that the numbers the cities transmit don't always get put in the way that the city wants them or something like that. And we've had a citizen that went through the transparency website a couple of years ago and just was not happy with the salaries. They were trying to tie the salaries to everybody, but because Corbett's paid out of 4 different areas or Craig's paid out of 3 different areas, it's hard to line those up.
And now you're paid out of more than one area too, right, Chris?
Yep.
Is that what I got?
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's starting next year.
Right. Okay.
Is there anything the city council would like us to do, David, in terms other than formatting to look at that?
I can't think of anything at this point. Now that we've kind of got this next year's budget underway, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. And if you have input on how to best communicate to the citizens some of the decisions that were made, or that kind of thing, but I think that would be helpful input. But other than that, I think we're good. I do really appreciate the follow-up on these other projects too, the cameras and all of these other projects. That is very helpful to be held accountable to those things that we've promised the citizens. So thank you for following up on that too.
David, when you've described before, I think Chris got on, you described the budget. And I thought that was an excellent description that maybe could be a blueprint for how it be presented to the citizens. When you said basically it's a cost of living type of adjustment. And then obviously there's going to be a little bit in there that's going to say, hey, because of the lawsuit, I mean, we have to increase taxes by, what is it, $100,000 or something. I don't know. It seemed like the way you said it, Chris, was, I mean, not Chris, but David was a good way. So if I'm voting, I vote for the way you did it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And the whole keep it simple. We could give you 1 page. We can give you 40. I mean, 40 doesn't give them anything more. It gives them more stuff to complain about. And they're welcome to dig down and see it, but give them the minimal, Chris. That's my thought. I guess I'm supporting you on that one. Nothing's hidden. It's just, you might have to do a little homework if you're so inclined to want to dig.
We have a few that want to dig. And I just wish before we get to the meetings that people would ask questions, because really there's no reason to have put the budget off. Those questions can be answered easily, and maybe people just get busy, but yeah, the biggest part of that was that Utah State Tax Commission giving us grant money from the ARPA stuff.
And that was the COVID, right?
Yeah, and Carrie's been so worried that council's going to spend that on something because she had it planned to go with the roads, but I did hear you were talking about that. I think there was $50 million in grants and something like $200 million in requests, and I think our request was kicked out. Don't ask again. Thanks for trying. There's other more pressing needs in the state that people are asking for.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I might mention in this meeting. So years and years and years ago, the city invested along with other cities in a regional sewer plant. And they bought 200 acres kind of out by the sheriff's.
Palmyra area.
Yeah, kind of out in that area. Then, each of the cities ended up building their own sewage treatment plant or expanding their sewage treatment plants. And so the regional plant wasn't necessary. So they recently sold that property, and the city is going to get approximately $78,000 as our part of that money. So anyway, that's some good financial news. Of course, I'm pressing really hard that that money goes straight back into the water fund, because I'm betting that's where it came from. And so I don't want to put it anywhere but right back where it came from. But that can go to pay down some of our bonds that we've incurred.
That'd be good to get that Bank of Utah note paid down, the one we were going to get paid off in 5 years that we're barely making payments on right now. I mean, making no extra payments on. Mike, I think your microphone may have died or something.
Yeah, nothing.
We can hear you, see your lips, but don't hear anything.
Yeah. I think Jody's brought 3 different microphones to him.
Got 3 mics here and you can't hear me.
Now we can.
I could hear that.
Barely.
Oh, you can hear that? You can hear me now?
Yeah.
That's a Verizon ad.
Maybe it's that middle one now that's working. I don't know.
Yeah, I just moved this one and maybe that helped, Jody.
Poor
Jody
Joe.
is helping me all kinds of ways here. Should I move?
Is it snowing or something? Bad weather?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, with feedback.
Oh, they're getting feedback.
Ooh.
You can mute Jody's computer.
I've always wanted to be able to.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
Number 4. 4th is a charm. Nothing.
Oh, but now you're muted.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's going to turn it back on.
It looks like Jody's muted. Mike doesn't look like he's muted though.
Mike's not muted now. I would say just go back to your the one mic that was working.
That's not working.
Nothing. We're getting nothing from you, Mike. Can see that you're trying to talk.
You could sign language.
Like we need to add a few more battery packs to the budget. Microphone batteries. Yeah, still nothing.
There's been challenges with the Zoom system lately. Something happened and support wasn't readily available like they used to.
Jody is an audio engineer at the same time as your recorder.
And babysitter and grandma requester.
So can you hear him now?
Can hear you. Mike, keep talking.
What about now? What about now? What about now? What about now? That's wrong.
Echo.
I heard you 17 times. Jody, you might just have to get that cheap microphone system out again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's an echo, but yeah.
Better?
Can hear you, but it's
Jody, can you move your computer, Jody?
that muted mic. I think.
Did you read Jody?
No, we can hear you, Mike.
Maybe put Jody's computer next to you or something.
What we're gonna do.
We can hear Jody loud and clear.
Yeah, that was
on my computer.
All right, we're gonna just go like this and hope that this works better. And I'm just gonna take it off the other system.
That's a good mic.
Is it better?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
loud. Yep.
We can
We're
hear you
gonna do
now.
that instead. And it's just gonna.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better. A lot better, right?
Here you can't see you, but that's okay.
We can probably change that. Not that you just start video.
Yeah.
Is it a touch screen?
No.
He was unable to detect the camera. Okay.
Well, we'll just leave it like that.
Okay, if they can hear me, that's good. They don't need to see me. I'm not that pretty to look at anyway, so.
Do we need to second that or?
Make a motion on it, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, Chris, I've been hearing all of your comments and I've commented on a few of them, but I did wonder in the overall budget, would there be a way to kind of, in a parentheses, outside of the line item of just maybe generalizing a couple of things in there, 3 or 4 things of what it's for? Or is that asking too much?
Already done. Let me show you. Let's see here. It's just not printed each. Maybe it just needs to be printed each time. Let me. Can you see my screen? Okay, Mike.
Not yet.
No.
I can't see it yet.
Oh, I guess I have to share it, don't I? That would help.
Jody, do you want me to pull it up on my computer and then you won't have to stay around here?
I can make him the host. Yeah, I can do that.
You want me to-
Chris, the host, or.
We can see your screen now, Chris.
Okay, generating a report here real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I still did the summary.
Okay, it says I am connected, so I'm on.
So every line item, Chris, you've got some kind of note already in there.
Yep. So I gave this to council at the beginning of the year. And unless I just do this, print this report every single time, maybe that would be more beneficial. And actually, let me get rid of this. Some of these are carrying over from the previous year. Get rid of this one and just do the account notes. I think this is a better. Okay, there we go. Some of these need to be cleaned up, but I guess 90% of them are sufficient.
Recording in progress.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm on, Jody. You can go home. Thank you. You're wonderful.
Thanks, Jody. I know you've only been there since what, 7 or 7:30 this morning. So
Turn off the lights when you leave, Mike.
He's a Jim. I'll Jody, do I need to do anything special to just leave and go out that door?
Yeah.
Turn off the lights here. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, yeah, I can see what you've done there. Yeah, that's good. That's great.
So those are just some kind of notes, and maybe I just need to keep printing this more detailed budget each time.
Yeah, that's helpful, Chris, for me anyway. That helps a little bit to understand.
Okay, when I do March's financials, I'll go ahead and send them out this format and see. I'll try and go through. There's a couple of them, like I said, I need to clean up a little bit, but I'll go back through and look at that.
Okay. Chris, you do a great job on our budgets.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
And laying those out. We appreciate you and the work that you do. So is there any more discussion on budget? Do you have any further questions or concerns? I'll talk to Tim about formatting and see if he has any suggestions. And I'll have a discussion with him. But other than that, is there any other items of possible discussion we need tonight?
I can't think of anything.
Nothing from you, Chris? Okay. Newt?
No, nope.
Okay. Well, then with that, I don't see any public on here, so there's no public comment. I put down a pending date for next meeting of June 15th. Is that soon enough? Do we need to have one sooner with all that's going on with our budget? Or is that good enough?
That works for me, and I think that that's sufficient. Oh, but Jody's saying that is Planning Commission night.
Okay, so that won't work. Okay. So I just proposed that June 15th. What about June 8th or 22nd?
I think we had to go earlier. The June 8th one would probably be, if there's nothing on that night already, that might be nice, or even June 1st. Oh, actually June 1st, I'll be in Mexico on a service project with the kids. So June 8th would be.
Does June 8th work for you gentlemen?
I think so. I might be, I'm working on a trip sometime at the beginning of June. We'll see. But I think that from the trip, I could still check into the meeting. And so.
Okay. Then our pending date for our next meeting will be June 8th at 8 p.m. Does that need to be motioned up?
No, you're just noticing it.
Does adjournment need to be noticed up? I know on the board that I serve on in the county, we have to motion all of these things, but.
Yeah, the adjournment does have to be motioned.
Okay, with no further discussion, then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Yep, I'll whatever I do, second it or I'll support it. We want Dave to get to bed before he can get a couple hours of sleep.
So
and there's nothing else to discuss.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. And we'll look forward to June the 8th. In the meantime, we'll do a little legwork on what we've been assigned to do. So, Newt, we can follow through on those cameras a little bit, maybe.
I'll work with Chris and just keep up to date so we can know where we're at and
okay,
what kind of responses he gets from Utopia and Craig. And so.
And I just sent a text to the president about 5 minutes ago, so hopefully he'll respond.
David, have a nice trip and be safe.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, appreciate you all.
All right.
Thanks. We'll see you.
Bye.